Welcome to this week's edition of the Dakota Angler 2-Minute Fishing Report. Well, this past week brought a lot of mixed results depending on when a person went out. You either caught a few fish or a lot of fish or none at all. But I can tell you this much, over the past weekend, I haven't received as many photos of large walleyes caught in a long time. There's been quite a few big fish being caught. And speaking of big fish, a lot of those photos were sent in because of the Dakota Angler Bump Board Challenge. If you have not purchased your bump board yet, you can do so. We're getting more in, and I apologize for those that have been looking to buy one, but they've been so popular that we sold out of them right away. And so they are in transit as we speak, and they should be in the store by later today or later this week. So keep checking our website at dakotaangler.com. But again, keep sending those photos in to qualify. Top 3 perch, top 3 walleyes will get a prize, and that contest goes throughout the entire month of February. And as far as the fishing report is concerned, the lakes up in the northeastern part of the state that produce walleyes, a lot of people were concentrating on the 2 main lakes that they have been all week, ice season long. That's been Bitter and Waubay. Other lakes included Dry Lake by Clark, Midland, and then also Reed, Goose, Casey Slough, a few being caught at Minnewaska, as well as Fish, Long, Indian Springs, and then also Big Stone. Down the southeastern part of the state, the lakes that produce walleyes, and they were, not as many as up in the northeast, but a few nice ones have been caught. Ponset, Dry Lake by Willow Lake, and then also Thompson, 81 Ponds, Henry, Campbell, we haven't talked about that in a while, and then also Whitewood, Sinai, Madison, Vermilion, and Twin. Now, what have you guys been doing to catch the walleyes? Now, we've talked about these before, but a little bit different presentation, more of a flutter spoon. Whether or not you're talking about the VMC Tingler has worked really well. They got some new colors out. It really worked well this past week. You kind of tip that with a minnow head and let it do its thing. And then the other thing, and we've talked about this before, whether or not you're talking about a buckshot or anything, any type of noise maker, if you will, the Lindy Ratlin Flyer Spoon and the bright colors, the new color scheme that they came out with last year, a lot of these new colors have worked out really well. And I think just the wings add a little bit more of a swimming motion to that lure. So again, keep that in mind this next week. Then as far as the perch bite is concerned around the area, a few more perch being caught lately than what we've seen before, but I think now with the snow on the ice, that's going to help the perch bite that much more. Not as much commotion will be heard on the ice. But the bite this past week consisted of the lakes like Waubay, Big Stone, Bitter, all dry lakes, whether or not you're talking about Florence, Clark, or Willow Lake, and then also Goose, 81 Ponds, Thompson, Ponset, Campbell, Whitewood, and then also Madison. Now, what have people been using this past week? A lot of the same lures that we've talked about before. A lot more people have come in and got the Clam Tika Flash, and this is the PT one, the painted treble. Some unique colors this year have been working really well. The koi type of paint scheme. Again, hopefully you can see that, but they have been working really well. And then something else that's new this year from Castmaster. A lot of people think Castmasters are a thing of the past. Well, they came out with the new Moonshine Glow paint scheme, and this is one that's been working really well. Hopefully you can see that again, a little bit smaller, but all that glow paint has been working well, and the smaller size in these Castmasters for the perch. So again, keep that in mind. They're tipping it with waxworms and maggots. We have plenty of that on hand, or even using small minnows. And we'll talk about some of the dead stick uses that people have been using to catch the perch and the walleyes this past week. And we'll talk about that next in Todd's Tackle Tips. In this week's edition of Todd's Tackle Tips, we're going to talk about tip-ups because this year, more than anything else, we have seen a lot of dead sticking or tip-up usage to catch a perch or a walleye, throughout the ice season. And a lot of times people will equate tip-ups with pike fishing, and there's nothing further from the truth than that. Maybe many years ago, but nowadays it's a great way to find out where those fish are at. Check different depths. You can put these tip-ups at different depths across the entire area, and the nice thing about in South Dakota, you're allowed 4 lines, okay? So you can have 2 rods, and then if you want 2 tip-ups or whatever you want to do it, you can do that. So again, don't waste those available lines. Grab some tip-ups and put them out around the area, whether or not you're talking about different depths or also different types of structure. Now, there are different types of tip-ups, and that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. You can go the traditional way, and this is kind of the standby way, I would say the least expensive way, the plastic rectangular type of tip up. The hole is still going to be, exposed, but there are different ways that you can cover up that hole. A thermal cover works really well. Also, if I went to college in Wisconsin, and beaver dam tip ups were very, very popular, and they continue to be that way. Basically, the old tip up, but you talk about a smooth moving spool. Just the mechanics of this type of tip up make it well worth the money. Now, there are also other different types of tip ups that will, let's say, minimize the times that your hole will freeze up, and that's the frayable thermal tip up. A lot of times people will notice these by the orange color, and the nice thing about that is when they're sitting out there in that white snow, they're easily seen, and people hopefully won't drive over the top of them, but the size will definitely prevent or minimize that hole from freezing up. Now, there's also a different type of tip ups out there, such as ones that will actually set the hook for you. Now, in some states, that's illegal. Such in Minnesota, you cannot use you have to set the hook yourself. But Clam has the Predator tip up. I should put it this way. That came out last year. Very, very popular tip up. There's also tip ups from Clam such as the Arctic Warrior that will do the same thing. It won't automatically set the hook, but you can allow yourself to use the rod and reel to fight the fish as it's going through. The other one, very, very popular the past couple of years, the Finicky Fooler. We have the hook setter and also the normal style. So again, both of these are very popular. So it doesn't really matter what type of tip up that you use. It really depends on how you want to use the tip up. You can put regular tip up line on there, or you can use the fly line that we have both on hand. And then also whether or not you use a tip up rig, whether or not you're using smelt or let's say chubs to catch a pike or smaller chubs to catch a walleye. Maybe you want to go with a type of a tip up rig, or if you just want to attach a treble hook or a jig. Again, use these tip ups that are going to best utilize the time that you have out on the ice by moving them to different depths or different types of structure to be looking for those fish. Whether or not you're talking perch, walleye, or pike, you name it, it's a great tool to have in your toolbox. So don't think it's not much of a fisherman at that point in time. Tip ups this year has resulted in many, many large fish being caught because of the lack of snow on the ice, and so those fish are a little bit more timid, and the tip ups have worked really well. So again, stop on by, take a look at the great selection of tip ups that we have on hand, and also all the tip up accessories that you would need. And now it's time to take a look at a few photos that you sent in to me this past week. And remember, folks, if you'd like your photo included in next week's version of the 2-Minute Fishing Report, all you have to do is send it to me, and you can do so by sending it to todd@dakotaangler.com. And before we end this week's report, I want to remind you that we have plenty of ice fishing gear on hand, all kinds of tackle, auger, shacks, you name it. So it's not too late to buy what you need or what you would like to have, because guess what, folks, there's plenty of ice fishing left to go. The way the weather forecast looks like, it's going to be a little bit of a late spring for all your open water fans. So again, take advantage of the inventory, take advantage of the prices, and get what you need right now for the ice fishing season that remains. If you can't make it here to the store, make sure you check us out online at dakotaangler.com, and we'll ship it out to you the next day. Or if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to give us a call at 605-336-9132. Well, folks, that's this week's version of the 2-Minute Fishing Report. For Dakota Angler, I'm the owner, Todd Heitkamp, and as we say around here, fish on! We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. I greatly appreciate it. And always, stay healthy, and most of all, stay safe.